With only one light in our shot, we've got a very contrasty image. It's almost like a film noir movie in which the shadows are incredibly black, like the value of 0. Let's add a little bit of fill light to this so we can fill in some of those dark shadows. You'll probably want to use Omni lights for fill because those are the least expensive. They are the fastest to render. I'm going to unpin my stack, go back to the Create panel, go back to Lights and Standard, and create some Omni lights. And I want to create those in the top view or the perspective view. Click to create the Omni light. I'm going to create 2 of them out here, and then right-click. And they need to be moved up because they have an elevation of 0. Bring those up. And not to the same elevation, give them some variation. And then obviously, as you can see, we need to adjust their intensity. The key light or spotlight here has an intensity of 1. Up at the top, we've got intensity color attenuation. The multiplier is 1. The fill lights I've just created, their purpose is to fill in the shadows, not to provide direct key illumination. That means that their multiplier or intensity value needs to be lowered. The key light should always be the strongest light in the scene. Select one of these, and intensity color attenuation, maybe set that to a value of 0.3 or so. And likewise with this one, bring that down a bit, 0.3. All right, so you can see the difference already here. We're getting some fill. The shadows are not 100% black. One thing I do want to point out is that 3ds Max remembers the settings for the last operation that you did on a light or on many other objects. So take a look at this. The Omni lights that I created have this cream color because I created a spotlight and adjusted its color. And now these new lights have inherited that color. So don't let that bite you. I actually want to set these to be the complement, which is blue. And that's going to give us a nice pleasing effect. So I'm going to click on that and just switch that hue over to a blue color with not very much saturation, just very desaturated, a saturation in the 20s. And you can see how that's affecting this. And let's select the other light. Likewise, change its hue to a blue. Click OK. And now this has got a little bit more visual interest to it because the key light is sort of slightly orange and the fill lights are slightly blue. And now we can kind of move these around and kind of control the contrast level. So if I bring these over to the side, that's more side lighting. Bring them up towards the front, that's more fill lighting. So again, it's just an artistic process of you trying to determine, what looks good. You can also create fake bounce light because light hitting the surface of the floor here should bounce up and strike the other objects here. So we can create a fake bounce light for that purpose. All right, let's create a new Omni light. Just standard Omni and create it basically at the target or near the target and then move it down underneath the floor. And because we're not casting shadows with this light, it's going to shine up onto the figure. You can see it there. So maybe not quite at the target, a little bit in front. We want to illuminate the figure more than anything. And we can bring it down maybe a little bit. Again, just play with that, see what looks good. It doesn't need so much intensity, and it should have the same color as the key light. Go back into its parameters. Set that color back to that cream color. And it should have a really low intensity, maybe like 0.1 or something like that, because it's just providing a little bit of splash or fill, maybe 0.15. Okay, so that's a little bit of fake bounce light there. All right, pretty cool. And then finally, we could put some rim light to kind of accentuate the edges of the figure. Some backlight. So we could make some Omni lights and put them back here. And actually, if we want to, we can duplicate the existing lights. We've already set the color and intensity for these, so I can select one of them and just hold down the Shift key and drag it back here, and that'll make a clone. When I release the mouse, I get a dialog asking me, do I want a copy, an instance, or a reference? A copy will be completely independent. so I can control those parameters separately. An instance would have shared parameters, so if I change the multiplier of one instance, it would affect both of the instances. And a reference is an instance in which you can add modifiers. But you can't add modifiers to lights, so reference wouldn't make any sense here. In this case, I want a copy, so I have independent control. Click OK. And then this rim light now, I want to examine the figure here and move the backlight around so I can kind of put a little bit of a rim there. Right? If I put it back too far, we won't see anything. So kind of over on the side a bit. And that looks pretty good. I can make a duplicate of that. Once again, hold down Shift and drag and bring it over to the other side. And now I've created some rim light. So I'll make another copy here. And you can see here that we've kind of differentiated the figure from the background. And that's the purpose of the rim light. Nice. All right. So now that we've got all those lights in the shot, let's do a test render of that. You can see that it's a little bit maybe overexposed. Once I've added all of those lights in, I probably want to reduce their intensities. We can do that from the light lister. We'll do that in the next movie.